For the position of welfare officer, the candidate debates on Tuesday of this week saw Fran Piddleston and Sammy Wonnell outstrip the more tentative candidates Joe Royal and Kirsty Osborne in the debate following their initial proposals. Issues of accommodation standardisation, mentoring and academic support were raised. Despite her calm and friendly presentation, when it came to further questions posted online from the floor, Joe Royal was unable to offer new and fresh ideas, instead repeating earlier points, whilst Fran Piddleston was criticised for coming across as intimidating in her determination to do whatever it takes. Having found it hard to adjust to life personally, psychology finalist Kirsty Osborne focused on a distinctly local approach, where in contrast Sammy Wonnell adopted a much broader approach in tackling welfare issues here at Warwick with the help of his links to the NUS and other national institutions. Here are a few of the best bits from the debate.
My main aims are focused on depression and hate crimes. It's so easy to give up, like if you just make that kind of step towards getting help, but we really need to make it as easy as possible.
I'm focusing on three main areas as part of my campaign, which are housing, support and publicity. One way in which I aim to do this is by creating a welfare guide for all students at Warwick, to look in depth at the issue of counselling services and explore ways of reducing the waiting list.
So I've identified three key areas which need to be improved, which are support, health and housing. That's the basis for my idea of a peer mentoring scheme, whereby students are given a student who's in the year above to be their mentor for that year, to advise them on social and academic issues.
I want to get a monthly STI clinic on campus so students get properly tested for STIs in an anonymous way. I want to try and get the blood service back on, housing accreditation schemes, try and integrate students with communities.
The long waiting period for students to get academic counselling from the university over 4 weeks, I believe. How would you respond to this and improve that situation?
A lot of the reasons that people go to counselling are things that could be helped in other ways. Counselling, I don't think, is the only way to help them, and I think if we really publicise what the union can help with and what the union can offer.
I think that a lot of the problems that students have are can be addressed by going to a personal tutor or a senior tutor, and I think this can have a direct impact on reducing the waiting list.
I think that if you go to doctors, if you go to personal tutor, there's this kind of knee-jerk reaction to say go to counselling, and we need to kind of break that down and make it clear what services each student should go to.
In a time of crisis, you need help immediately. You haven't got that time to wait, and so there should become some kind of provision and awareness of provisions that you can use in the interim.
The penultimate debate this year was on the position of Education Officer, which turned out to be less of a debate and more of a question and answer with the only candidate up for election, politics finalist Samaya Kaku. With the prospect of having only one candidate, fear has been expressed over the fact that the candidate would be elected irrespective of policy strength, as students would not opt for the reopening of nominations. However, Kaku demonstrated strong understanding of what the role would entail, and with an abundance of experience within the SU, she was able to overcome such speculation. Let's take a look at some of the clips from the Hustings.
Hi guys, my name is Samaya Kaku and I'm running for the post of Education Officer. The things I hope to achieve are straightforward. Undergraduates have been given Wednesday afternoons off for sports. It's time to extend this privilege to postgrads who have, let's face it, a heavier workload than us. The SSLC system is not working well. This is in part due to the failure of Regs to attend. There needs to be incentives. The noise on floor 1 and 2 in the library is seeping up to the upper floors. This needs to be changed so that all people can benefit from the library.
By adding more books, are you going to be taking away some of the core textbooks which we obviously, what do you mean by?
Where we've got second editions, where third editions are out, and the second edition, those have now become obsolete. I want to put those kind of books into storage so they're still accessible, and I want to change those kind of books to new ones, especially since every department has a budget for books and lecturers are requesting ones.
Just looking at your manifesto, it seems rather vague. I mean, you talk about hidden course cuts, but you don't actually say what you're going to do about them. You say you're going to put the U back into education, but that's basically asking people to come to you with their problem. You say also a range of books as well. What I'm asking is for more details. You've got more details on those things.
My manifesto is deliberately vague because I want students to come to me with their specific problems. I want people to question my manifesto. I want to be talked to about this kind of stuff. When it comes to issues like the library and a lot of the stuff that you've said, I want to use this floor to enlarge on those policies.
Finally, we reach the role of the President, a highly contested position this year, with candidates showing strength across the board. The debate certainly proved to be comprehensive, with every aspect of student politics covered, from the economic demands of the union rebuild to the ethical stance of the SU, from the need for cheaper bus service to the importance of a green SU. Opening speeches were all well rehearsed, and during the debate each candidate had their tripping points, but overall the performance standard was high, making differentiation between candidates very difficult for their eager audience. Here are the final highlights from the presidential candidate debates.
It's simply unacceptable for Warwick accommodation to hike up the prices year after year with no more justification than fuel costs. This is a classic issue where the union should be leading the campaign to hold the university to account on behalf of the students.
Course costs, rents, bus fares, they're all becoming too high and need to be made more affordable to students. We need a union that reaches out to those in Leamington and Coventry, that caters more for its postgraduates by listening to them.
As president, I would be the figurehead of the Students' Union. I need to know what you guys are saying. I will tour halls personally once a week with Street Team, and I'll bring university people with me.
My campaign is split into 3 disciplines. There's Optimize, which is guaranteeing you that there's a better Warwick for your better Warwick experience. And there's Internationalize, further integration, facilitation of the integration of home and international students. And finally, Harmonize, which is basically saying that there's going to be a very transparent team of sabbaticals.
I think union politics is very important, and it can be made important, because the Students' Union point is to represent students. And I think bringing that back a bit more next year is getting the voice to say we do not want tuition fees to go up, we do not want energy targets to be left to the wayside.
Each of you mentioned getting people who live in Leamington, Coventry or Kenilworth more involved in union in terms of politics, entertainment, all sorts of things. But can you give us some kind of specifics on how you do this?
To get people involved, you need to get them interested. So basically, if I'm actively out there trying to campaign with these people and the street team, it's leading by example.
Clearly the new building will just be such an attractive facility, and it's important to market that way.
Rent a building somewhere, small space, in Leamington or Coventry. We can't have a venue there, we can't have a nightclub, that would be financially unmanageable, but we can have some sort of membership services.
I think the fact that people do use the union is not in the same formal structures of electing someone to your, a coordinator or something, to your union council, for instance. It's more electing someone on your exec to then coordinate with a staff or something like that.
I think we could actually have some sort of space in central Leamington, in Elston, that does have a commercial, but I think a commercial operation could potentially be viable. That is a very long-term plan, though.
What are your 3 top priorities for environmental policy?
Because the president doesn't have a particular brief, it has to be campaigning, pressuring the university. I think because the university controls the campus in that way, and I think it's focusing on energy efficiency, getting more double glazing.
I think we need to get more visible kind of recycling facilities and encourage people to be using them.
The union should factor in environmental costs into every major commercial decision it does.
Putting more automatic light switches in all toilets and corridors, because that way you can save when people forget to turn off the lights.
Plastic beakers in the union, because every time you get a drink, there is a slight sort of health and safety issue there. But it just does seem so systematic of our use once and throw away society.